Exciting announcement, monthly wrap-ups are officially back. Well, at least for me. I know tons of people do wrap-ups in a ton of different ways. When I started reviewing books on my channel, I posted a monthly wrap-up every single month of all the books that I read, and then slowly but surely, I've started to stray away from that, and I've dabbled with a few other formats. I've done bi-monthly, quarterly, seasonally, and I did a poll recently on my YouTube community tab asking you guys which one you prefer, and 67% of you guys voted for monthly wrap-up, so we're back, baby! If you're new here, though, hi, I'm Katie. I love talking about books on my channel, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be doing my March reading wrap-up, and we're just going to jump right on into some statistics. In the month of March, I read 8 books. My genre breakdown is 2 fantasy, 2 romance, 1 thriller, 1 literary fiction, 1 historical fiction, and 1 novella. My page count was 3,331 pages, and I will say that's not entirely accurate because some of these books I did read quite a bit of in the month of February, but I didn't finish them in February. I finished them in the month of March, and if I wasn't going to talk about that book in my February wrap-up, it would have been weird to have the page number in my February wrap-up, so I'm just including all the pages in my March wrap-up, so just take that with a grain of salt. And then I'll also have my average rating for the month somewhere on screen as well. I just don't know yet because I'm gonna be kind of live officially rating these books with you guys here today while I'm talking to you right now. Overall, I would say March was a great reading month for me. I've read a lot of standout books that I'm really excited to talk about, so we're just gonna go ahead and get right on into it. I've got all the physical books that I read over here on my right, and we're gonna be starting off with a bang with Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is following our main character, Joan. She is an astrophysicist, and we are following the journey of her becoming an astronaut. This is set during the 1980s as well, and Joan is a part of a select group of women who have been chosen by NASA to be a part of their space shuttle program. This is a big deal. Being an astronaut is a huge male-dominated field, especially back in the 1980s whenever misogyny was just like the way of life back then and women just had to accept it. And seeing Joan and the other women and how they dealt with things either similarly or differently was really interesting throughout this book. I feel like that was a big topic of this book as a whole. One of the women, whenever the men were making misogynist jokes, she was just like laughing it off, like kind of just like going with the flow because she's like, if we're not one of the guys, then they're not. Okay, that is my sump pump. If you can hear that, I'm sorry. If you can't, then hurrah. But I'm just gonna have to power through the video because it's going on a lot, and if I don't, then we'll be here all day. Anyway, she's insinuating that if she's not acting like one of the guys, then they're not gonna take her seriously and respect her, and they're not gonna work as a crew. But then Joan and some of the other women are like, if we do that, then we're also doing ourselves a disservice because they're not like the men, and Joan herself doesn't want to be like the men. And it's hard because even if one of them calls them out for a comment, it kind of affects the whole group, but then if another one just plays it cool, it affects the whole group as well. And I really like how the idea of misogyny was just a very complex discussion in this book. And it's also crazy how much you realize that a lot of women themselves have internalized misogyny that they subconsciously subscribe to just because that's how society works. Isn't that so fun? And isn't it crazy that a lot of these topics about misogyny, even though this was like 40 plus years ago that she wrote this, haven't really changed today? How exciting for us women. This book is written as a non-linear storyline, and it starts you off with a bang. There's a lot of chaos, disruption, fear. It's almost overwhelming and a little frustrating, but I think you're meant to feel that way. And then all of a sudden you're 7 years in the past and you're slowly working your way up to how we got to where we were at the beginning of the book. And then here and there, it brings you back to the beginning scene. And I really liked the way that it was told. But I do think with a lot of the things that happened to our characters, because you don't know them and really get to connect with them before you see the things that happen to them, it had like my guard up. And because of that, I wasn't really allowing myself to fully connect with a lot of the characters in this book, even though the found family in here with the crew that Joan has is really well done. They all, for the most part at least, kind of click together, and each side character has a lot of development on their own. Joan herself throughout this entire story goes through so much growth and realizations, not just in her professional life, but also in her personal life. Now, if you take a look about this book, it says Atmosphere in big orange letters, and then right under it in white, it says a love story. You probably can't see that because I'm in focus. But anyways, it says a love story. Just trust me on that if you couldn't read it. Going through the process of Joan falling in love and figuring out that she even has these feelings. It was a very slow burn process, and I really do like a slow burn. And I really did love the love story in this book. And because this is like the first time that Joan is really experiencing romantic love, it kind of gives you that like first crush feeling. And it was just such a heartwarming reading experience anytime there was a scene with them two together. And I felt really connected to Joan. I feel like she had such interesting familial dynamics. One rooted in such deep love and the other rooted in narcissism. She's also just a textbook people pleaser. And unfortunately, I am also a textbook people pleaser, so I can relate to you, girl. And I ended up reading this in a 5-star prediction reading vlog, and I'll have any reading vlogs that any of these books I'm about to talk about are in, linked down below as well for you guys to check out if you're interested. And after I finished it, I really thought it might be a 5-star, but I feel like now that I've kind of taken a little bit of a step away from it, I don't think it is. I think at this point it is either a 4.5 or a 4.75. And I think it is just because I still really don't know how I feel about the ending. And also the space and science talk was a lot of this book, and I feel like it was digestible, but it was just talked about so much that it started to become a little bit overwhelming for me. And you can definitely tell that Taylor Jenkins Reid isn't just passionate about writing itself and being an author, but also about the subject matter of this book. And because of that, it's just a really inspiring reading experience. Like, I love seeing and getting to experience things people do that they love to do. And I would highly recommend this book overall, but especially if you're looking for a gateway into the literary fiction genre, because there is such a large subplot of romance. I mean, it literally says a love story on the front of the book. And this is by far one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. Next up, I'm going to talk about 2 books in a series that I ended up finishing, or I guess catching up on. I don't know if there's going to be more books in this series or not. I don't think anybody knows at this point. But currently with what's out, I have finished it. So I'm going to take that as a little win for myself. And that series is the Crescent City series. In my hands, I have book 2, House of Sky and Breath. And then right here, I think I'm just going to sit it up like that because I think that actually works out pretty well, because there's no way I'm going to be able to hold both these honkers in one hand. I read the first Crescent City book back in December of 2024, I believe, and I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to. One thing I will say is that this series has every single creature you could ever think of under the sun, and it is a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot of terminology in here. I feel like she honestly needed like a nice little glossary for me to flip in between, just so I could be aware if I was confused to like go back and forth, because with these books, you know, you can't search anything up or else you're gonna get something spoiled for you. I mean, I didn't even search anything up while I was reading these, and I still got stuff spoiled for me. And in the first book, we mainly just get Bryce's POV with a few other POVs sprinkled here and there, but starting in the second book and on into the third, we have a lot more POVs going on. And I think in the second book, it worked out really well. And I liked hearing from a lot of the different POVs, but going on into the third book, I think I started to realize which POVs I had like no interested in and the other ones that I like wanted to hear more of. And there's just certain characters like Therion, respectfully, I don't want to hear that much from you. Sorry, King. But this series is following our main character, Bryce. She is half human and half fae, and it's an urban fantasy set in a city called Lunathion. So they've got skyscrapers, they've got phones, they've got tons of different technology, which sometimes is a little bit jarring to read about. It's just like a different type of fantasy that I feel like I'm not as used to. And I feel like I can't really tell you a ton about the plot because you just kind of have to go in blind to these, but they do have a big mystery element involved. They're always finding out some new information, and I feel like that does help with the pacing a little bit, specifically in the first book. I think the biggest thing that I struggle with this series is I just don't really feel crazily connected to the characters. And these are also romantasy books, but I find that a lot of the times I'm starting to realize that for me with Spice, there was a time and there was a place. Like, I feel like a lot of the times that Spice was happening, I wanted to get on with the plot. Like, I was like, oh, like something interesting happening. Let's go ahead and figure this out together. And then Spice happened instead. And I was like, okay, like, come on, mama, let's go. And I like spice as much as the next person, but it really is just a case-by-case basis depending on where it's at in the plot, because sometimes it can just be a little bit overkill. I feel like in this second one, it was a little overkill. In the third one, I feel like it was balanced a lot better. Talking about the second one specifically now, House of Sky and Breath, I think that this one was probably my favorite out of the series. The first one coming up to be a very close second, and then the third one is my third place favorite. I feel like there were a lot of interesting storylines happening and just like cool things in general. There was a lot of character development and growth that we saw in here. And I think I would rate this a 4-star. It was definitely an enjoyable time, but I feel like the third one, House of Flame and Shadow, just kind of felt like a lot. One of the things I started to notice with reading these very close together is that there's a lot of just random filler in these books, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I feel like because I didn't feel crazily connected to the characters, it just didn't really work for me. There's also a really cool cliffhanger that the second book ends off on, which could have gone so many different ways in this book, and I feel like, unfortunately, it was kind of a letdown. With the way that she set this one up, there was just so much potential, and it was kind of frustrating because this book felt like we spent almost half of it in caves. And honestly, I think caves should be included in the description of this book. I'm actually going to check because I've never read it. Update, no, caves are not included in the description, but just know going in if you haven't read it, caves. I think I might rate this like a 3.5, maybe a 3-star, not entirely 100% sure yet. And it's not like these books were bad by any means or a bad experience. They just weren't ones that I love. They're just not favorites for me. And if you haven't read this series yet or you want to reread them, I would highly recommend checking out the graphic audios. I hybrid read these, so I also read a little bit on my Kindle because I got them through Libby. And I had a really great reading experience with both. So highly recommend the graphic audios. Next is the novella that I read. My friend Kristen and I listened to this through Audible. It's one of the free Audible and Kindle Unlimited Valentine's collections, and it is by Abby Jimenez. It's called Worst Wingman Ever. We were driving to visit our friend Olivia, and it was a 7-hour drive, so we just needed something quick to listen to. And I wish it wasn't this. This is like 60 pages, and it started off cute and fun, like very rom-com-y, whatever, very Abby Jimenez-esque because she wrote it, obviously. It's dual POV, and there ends up being a Valentine's Day card on our female main character, Holly's car one day, but it's not meant for her, and it ends up leading into this secret admirer anonymous exchange of notes over the course of a few weeks or so, and in typical Abby Jimenez fashion, there is a lot of weird, quirky, funny little rom-com-y moments, and then there's also a lot of serious things going on. But there were so many things in this book that while we were listening, Kristen and I kept looking at each other. We were like, girl, did that really just happen? It's almost to the point where it's like too outlandish, where it's not even like rom-com-y, silly, funny, we're not taking this seriously. It's more like, what the actual fuck? And I feel like the thing for me and Abby Jimenez, because I'm feeling really weird about her right now. I have 2 5-star reads from her, Just for the Summer and Yours Truly. I love those books dearly. Heart of Your World, I liked, but I didn't love. And Say You Remember Me, her release last year, I did not like. I feel like one thing that I like about her is that she's very rom-com-y and fun while also having a lot of serious and real life things go on for the characters. And I really do like the juxtaposition of that in her books that I've really enjoyed because that's just kind of like life, you know? But at the same time, it takes away from the serious moments whenever the outlandish, crazy, almost like plot twist nature of the certain things that she wrote in this book. Like, it just, the style of writing sometimes just doesn't mesh together, especially whenever the plot is like too sad, in my opinion. Because that's how I felt about Say You'll Remember Me, and that's how I felt about this novella as well. I mean, the romance was definitely cute. I do think that there were some things in the dialogue that was a little bit cringy for me. So going into her recent release, The Night We Met, I'm nervous. I'm like, do I want to read it? Especially with what I know about the plot and the tropes. It's literally boyfriend's best friend. Like, huh? Like, I don't know. I don't really like cheating or even like emotional cheating in my romance books. That kind of just makes me feel a little icky. So if you've read it already, no spoilers, of course, but in the comments, can you let me know down below what you thought of it, especially if you've had like a weird experience with Abby Jimenez's books recently, because I'm just very curious, and honestly, my curiosity might just get the better of me, and I might end up reading it anyways. There's that sump pump. Gotta love her. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I don't normally rate novellas unless they're a part of a series, but if I was gonna rate it, probably like a 2-star or maybe a 1, mama. Yeah, that's as generous I'm gonna be. Next is Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforde. This is the 5th and final, sorry, the sump pump is making me literally giggle. This is the 5th and final book in the Windy City series by Liz Tomforde. So, finish another series. Let's go. They're all set in Chicago, and each one is following a different sport. This is hockey, just like the first one, Mile High. And they're all dual POV as well. This one is following Rio and Hallie, and they are childhood best friends to lovers, and I loved this book. This book was told non-linearly. We see them whenever they're kids. For quite a few chapters sporadically throughout the book, so you can get the information that you're kind of on the fence about as to why they aren't together present day. And then obviously you get present day, where they run back into each other. And whenever they were younger, they were neighbors, and now present day again, they are neighbors once again. Hallie is an interior designer, and Rio ends up unknowingly hiring her to renovate his house. So obviously they're gonna be around each other quite a bit, communicating quite a bit, and because of that, they end up talking through things gradually, getting to know each other again since it's been so many years, and overall figuring out that neither of them have ever stopped loving each other, and it's always been each other, and lovey-dovey stuff. These books are so entertaining, fun, fast-paced. They are the perfect before bed books. I love reading these before bed and like giggling on my Kindle, just having an amazing time and then falling asleep. And I really do love reading them before bed, specifically because of the fact that I can read 5 sentences or 50 pages, or not even read it for a week and be able to pick it right back up and know exactly where I'm at. Rio is very funny, sweet, and charming, and just like really entertaining too. He has this quick wit to him, and him and Hallie kind of spar just in that fun way where you can tell that they have a lot of chemistry, not just romantically, but also as friends. And Hallie is extremely hardworking, determined, and a go-getter. Like, she is willing to do anything to get the job of her dreams, which I really admired about her. I really connected with both of them quite a lot, and their relationship was just so sweet, cute, and my rating on this one, I think it's gonna be a 4.5. I just have such a fun time with her books. I think this is either my 2nd or my 3rd favorite out of the entire series, which I really wasn't expecting, but I really did enjoy the series, and I'm really excited to read her next series that she's coming out with very, very soon. The next book that I read was A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandanna. I read the irregular, I can never say this unless I see the cover. Give me a second to think about this. It's The Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and I love that book. I rated it 5 stars, but because I enjoyed that one so much, I was really looking forward to reading this, and it honestly did not disappoint. If I could define her writing in a few words, I could think of so many actually, but just a few: heartwarming, witty, and whimsical. You can definitely tell that she doesn't take herself too seriously, which I really admire. And I also just love books about witches. I feel like I talk about that all the time on my channel. This book is following our main character and witch Sarah Swan, and for one reason or another that you figure out very quickly, she ends up losing her magic. Now, she's actually one of the most powerful witches that is in Britain, besides the leader of the guild, which is the magical school that Sarah goes to. And because of what she did to lose her magic, she ends up being exiled from the school. And we have a time jump of 15 years, and throughout those years, she has been trying anything to get her powers back. And she's also been helping her aunt run this magical inn, and now they have all of these people who live there, and they've all become family over the short time that they've known each other. And one day, somebody ends up finding the inn, and the only way that you can find it is if you really, really need it, and if you're like a good person, because Sarah put a spell on it a long time ago, and that spell is still alive even though she doesn't have her powers. And that person is our main character, Luke. He works at the guild, the magic school, and he's very smart and studious, and he has a little sister named Posey who is autistic, and he has really been struggling because he's the only person who he feels like understands her or is even willing to understand her. And the reason why he's acting as Posey's guardian at this point is because his parents are like the king and queen of not willing to understand their own daughter. Luke has really been struggling to find an education that works for Posey, and because of that, they just decide they need a break. They need to go somewhere for like a mini vacation. And so they end up coming upon Sarah's inn, and this ends up working out perfectly because the one person that can possibly help Sarah get her powers back is Luke. There are so many just like funny and quirky, outlandish things that happen in this book, but it works with the way that she writes it. I really love the slow burn romance, and I feel like there is just such a deep talk of acceptance in this book. I feel like every single character accepts one another for their peculiar attributes. Look at me, I said it. Because each of them has something that they're insecure about or they feel is unlovable because other people have made them feel that way about themselves in the past. And the way that not only Sarah and Luke love each other through those things throughout this book, but how every single character shows up for one another and cares and doesn't make fun of one another for the things that make them different. They just accept them and try to love those other people and care for them as best as they can is just so deeply healing to read about, especially in the world that we live in today. Honestly, there were so many moments while I was reading this where there were tears brought to my eyes for the understanding these characters had for one another. The found family in here was so well done, and I feel like I'm slowly starting to realize I just love like a cozy, quirky book that just doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm going to be talking about another one here in a minute, but those have been some of my favorite books that I've been reading recently, and I just love them. And I think that I would rate this a 4.5 stars. I really, really enjoyed it, like veering on love. It just didn't really give me those 5-star feelings, so to speak. The last 2 books I read exclusively on my Kindle, and I actually finished both of them yesterday. The first one I actually hybrid read, so I also listened to the audio. I got it through Libby, and when I talk about this book, you're gonna be like, Katie, wasn't this on your April TBR? And I would say yes to that question. But I really wanted to read it, like really, really bad. So I decided to swap one of the books out on my March TBR that I didn't get to for this book on my April TBR. So that's exactly that. I make the rules here. Like, so there. Anyways, that book is Best Offer Wins. This book was everything that I was hoping it was going to be. This is a thriller, but it's not like scary, but it definitely had me on the edge of my seat. I could not put it down. I wanted to read more and more and more, or just keep on listening, because the things that were happening in this book were just crazy. This is following our main character named Margot, and she and her husband have been trying to buy a house for so long now. But not just any house. They want their dream house. They're looking for their forever home that they can raise a family in. And there's a lot of stress on their relationship right now. They're going through infertility, and they're also living in a very small apartment. And the apartment was just supposed to be temporary, a stepping stone on their way to buying their dream home and saving money for it. But now they're driving each other crazy. And the queen of the crazy is Miss Margot. She ends up figuring out that the house, she goes to look at it and she's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. It is going on the market, and she will do anything, and I mean anything, to get that house. And seeing how far she would go, I was shocked, to say the least. There was definitely one part of the storyline that I predicted. It was like obvious to me, but the other parts were just so crazy, but crazy in a good way, where I just wanted to keep on reading to see Margot's crazy grow. And a lot of the things that she ended up doing, specifically I feel like during the first half of the book, it was giving me like cringe level 5 billion, honestly. If you've ever watched The Office and seen the Scott's Tots episode, it gave me that level of cringe factor. My delusional queen Margot used to be a journalist, so she knows how to get the job done and really put her mind to things and figure things out, but she takes it to a whole nother level. She ends up literally becoming an actress, putting on all these different facades just to be able to get the home. It was just so incredibly interesting. There were also some things though, some behaviors that like low-key, I defend her on, because of the actions that the other people happen to do in this book. And the ending like literally had me so incredibly baffled. This was so entertaining from start to finish. I think I'm gonna rate this like a 4.5, 4.75. I feel like it was just missing a little something. You guys know that I am an absolute scaredy cat though. I'm trying to get into the thriller mystery genre a little bit more. I get a little bit scared because I don't want to be scared, but this did not have me feeling scared at all. It was just following Margot, our go-getting girl, trying to get what she wanted, and I loved every second of it. If you are in a book slump, I could not recommend this book enough. Shout out to Lottie, because we've talked about this so many times, but she has been recommending me mystery and thriller books that she doesn't think will scare me, and this one didn't scare me. An absolute perfect palate cleanser. I might even go buy it to put it on my shelf. Like, that's how much I enjoyed it. And then the final book that I ended up reading in the month of March was The Sixth Unselected Journal of M.M. Lyon by Beth Brower. I know I talk about this series all the time, but I love it so much. Can you blame a girl for talking about the things that she loves? I think not. If you haven't heard my spiel on this before, this is set in London in the 1800s. It's like in the Victorian Regency era. Think Bridgerton. And we're following our main character, Emma M. Lyon. You're reading her day-to-day journals. And each book follows 2 months. This one specifically followed the months of January and February. And you're just reading about her day-to-day life, about the things that she gets up to. And a lot of the things that end up happening are just so funny and quirky and charming and outlandish. Emma herself is just such a well-rounded character, especially for that era. She is a feminist queen in the 1880s. I really enjoy all the side characters as well. They're very developed themselves, and I feel like her little friend group that she has just always puts a smile on my face, and Emma herself just always gets into the craziest schemes. These books are so entertaining, but also have so many beautiful, heartfelt moments as well. She really toes that line. Like I was talking about earlier with Abby Jimenez's book, where she talks about like deep things, but also being like silly and funny, and sometimes she goes too far one way or another. I feel like A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping and the Emma M. Lyon series does the balance of that perfectly, but they do it in more of like a cozy and whimsical way, not to compare them too much to Abby Jimenez because it's just like a different type of writing style. I also think reading from both of these authors has made me realize how much I really enjoy British humor. Also, the subplot of romance in here is so good. It literally has me blushing. The way this one ended, like it is just now on the cusp of like really like getting incredibly good, and the self-control I had not to pick up the next book immediately after finishing this last one was honestly shocking how it left off. If you like character-driven stories, I think this would also be a really great palate cleansing option for you in between heavier reads. But this isn't just like a palate cleanser where you're like, oh, like that was fun, whatever. Like this is a palate cleanser where you're literally gonna be laughing out loud and just having the time of your life, but there's 8 of them. They're also really short. I believe all the ones I've read so far have been under 300 pages. So they're short, they're super sweet, super funny. I cannot recommend this series enough, and I'm sorry I'm not gonna stop talking about it probably even after I finish all 8 of them. When it comes to this series in particular, I feel like I'm having trouble rating each singular book. This is definitely a 5-star series for me without a doubt, but because you only get a small 2-month slice of Emma's life in each book, everything just like keeps carrying on. And because they are so character based, I feel like with rating this series, I'm just gonna rate it a 5 stars. I feel like once I got to the 4th one, they've all been 5 stars since then. The first 3, because they are character based, like you need to take time getting to know the characters a little bit and their dynamics. But once you get to the good stuff, you're just like, you're reeling it in, and the good stuff just keeps on coming. So this is 5 stars. I love this series so much, and I'll stop talking about it now. Until the next time I read one of her books and have to talk about it in a wrap up, then I'll just keep on blabbing on and on. And those are all 8 of the books that I read during the month of March. Overall, a great reading month. I did also want to mention that I had a spring reset vlog go up a few days ago. I did something weird whenever posting it. To briefly explain, I accidentally put it public when it wasn't all the way done the day before I was going to upload it, and then I scheduled it and uploaded it for the next day, but it said it had been out for a day already, so it didn't show up in a lot of people's subscription boxes. So I'm sorry for that. That is completely my bad. But if you're interested in checking out that video, I will have it linked down below so you can watch it after you're done watching this one. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video though. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you watch until this far in the video, comment down below the house emoji for best offer wins so I know who the real ones are who watched until the very end. I hope you guys are excited that the monthly wrap-ups are back. I know I am. And I think that's gonna be it for me today. I love you guys so much. Hope you're all having an amazing day, and I will see you guys in my next video real soon. Bye guys. Let's get the story. The Sump Pub's gonna be making quite a few appearances during this video. It's been raining. I'm so funny. Shout out to the garbage truck that is at the place next door right outside my window that is super loud. I'm just gonna wait for that to pass. No, you do you. Keep going. Thank you, Sump Pub. Thank you for gracing us with your presence today. Peace.